Alright guys, so we put 25,000 miles on the Jeep Gladiator and it's time to do some maintenance. If you've been following the channel, we started off with a white 6-speed manual and now we've got an Ecodiesel, and I did several videos on oil changes. I've done it on that, I've done it on Big Red, the Ram 3500, but we're a big fan of diesel power. Thanks for watching and stick around. Welcome back to Channel. John here. It's time to start building our dreams, and that's exactly what we've been doing with Project Rampage over the last year and a half. It's time to do some maintenance. So we've hit 25,000 miles on the Jeep. I got tired of going to 3 different auto parts stores. I'd have to go to one to get a filter, have to go to another one to get 4 quarts of oil, have to go into another one to get the last 5, because it's 9 quarts in total for the Jeep Gladiator and the Wrangler. The thing about docks is everything showed up here. If you're military first responder, there is a discount code you can use. You have to go in through normal validation, ID me or Government X or whatever it is for military and first responders. Here we've got our fuel filter with gasket. Now these aren't all made in the USA. Some of these boxes say Taiwan, some say China, but you at least know they meet the standards and they do the testing. Here's our oil filter cartridge, and so that's usually 50 bucks. This is usually, you know, anywhere from $50 to $90. Air filter, low end cheap one's about 27 bucks. This one is similar to like a Fram filter. And then we've got our cabin filters here, and we'll go through and change everything. But another thing I'm excited to try out is this right here. So this is actual diesel oil. So this is specifically designed for the Ecodiesel. This is what they call their Eco 5W40, and it's backed by Hot Shots. If you don't know who Hot Shots is, they're a fuel additive, oil additive company. So I've been running Pennzoil. The biggest thing is it meets the MS 12991 specifications specifically for the Ecodiesel. If you don't have that, you can lose your warranty. So there's a list of forums out there. So Docs is just another one of those, along with Hot Shots, that meet that specification, and we're going to try it out. So this is specifically designed for diesel engines. So I've been a Rotella guy for decades. I had it in my 6.5 GMC 2500 back in the day. I had it in my 7.3 Ford Excursion, and I've always run it in my Dodge Ram 3500. And so the biggest thing about this is it's an actual diesel formulated oil, so I like that. The other stuff is Pennzoil. It's, I mean, an Audi A4 with a turbo is not the same as a diesel. A diesel always has more soot, particulates, and everything else. So I'd much rather use an oil that's designed for a diesel. So we're going to do the easy stuff first. We're going to change cabin filter, air filter, change the oil, show you guys how to replace that, and then also change our fuel filter, which is tucked up underneath our metal cloak skid plates. Thanks for watching and stick around. What we're going to start off with is our air filter, and this is just 14 millimeters. You're going to loosen those up. It's got 4 around the corners. I will say at one time I did try a K&N and it threw a code. So my recommendation, the Ecodiesel, you just got to let it do its thing. And so you want to stick with the factory style filter, paper filter if you got the snorkel. Unless you've got a tuner or something like that, these things have so much emissions and electronics on them, it's just not easy to do. That one's kind of hard to get to because it's directly below that. And then you got the one in the back corner here, which should be able to get to that one too. Pulling these all the way out. Most of the time you don't have to do that, but we've got our 4 bolts out of there. This is loose. Now it does have this collar here, so if you ever do anything maintenance wise, it's a good idea to take that collar loose. We're not going to move it too far, we just want to get it up out of the way. So make sure you don't put too much strain on that sensor. And then we're going to take a look at our air filter. Notice the inside of the box is clean, inside of the tube is clean, and that's extremely important. You don't want the inside of your box to be covered in dirt. Again, we've put 25,000 miles on this Jeep. So here's the magic test. It's dirty, yes, but what you don't see down in the box, and what you guys get in there, you don't see a bunch of leaves, debris. I mean, there's some really fine stuff in there. But like when we first did this, we had like a whole bunch of these. That's the biggest thing that got in there. And we put 25,000 miles on this thing. Dirt, dust, sand, everything.
Yeah.
So I'm here with Isaac from Snorkel Upgrade. I'm going to turn it over to Isaac and he's going to tell you all about it.
This pre-cleaner here that looks like a little mushroom is a Sy-Klone Series 9000 pre-cleaner. And what it does is it actually utilizes the suction coming in from your motor through your snorkel to spin a rotor inside of this, this dome. And that rotor creates centrifugal force, which spins the air and spits the debris that are in the air that would have traditionally gone into your filter out this ejection slot. This has been patented, has over 12 patents on it, made in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's something that can help extend your filter life by another, I'd say at least double or triple.
Yeah, and so one thing I've noticed is, especially when we went up to the mountains of North Georgia, I was in the trail and I was just getting all kinds of dust. So fine particle dust. When I've been to Ocala, I had a whole bunch of leaves and other stuff, so the snorkel doesn't keep everything out. It keeps water out and keeps out most of the dust, but for the most part, it doesn't keep out the large debris that, you know, over time is going to build up or cause major damage. So
absolutely, and that's the best point right there, is that really what this is doing is giving your filter its best life by making sure those big debris don't go and hit that filter mesh.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of impact on your filter, the larger debris, the larger particles in the air, bugs,
right,
twigs, whatever, that can come through your regular snorkel head, yeah, and rip that filter and either get more dirt to go through the filter into your motor,
right,
which causes like issues long-term for your motor,
yeah,
or just clog your filter, which causes restriction.
Yeah, so all this dirt and goop, and we didn't do this too long ago. The bees got in there, twigs got in there. So we definitely, it's time to clean our air filter for sure.
Big stuff rolling, look at that.
Oh yeah.
It's all caked in there.
Yeah. Look inside the box, there's quite a bit of debris down in there. So you got chunks of sticks and leaves and other stuff that's down there in the box.
Yeah.
So
there's a minimal amount of load on the filter that
right,
makes the filter actually perform the best.
Yeah.
But again, like, filters are rated for particle size.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you want to make sure you're feeding your filter what it's meant to eat.
Right.
And so the pre-cleaner is not going to get rid of everything.
Right.
But it's going to make sure that the filter is only going to need to filter what it was made to filter as far as the range of particle size go. And that's why we like to say it's going to live its best life. Through here.
So we're going to swap this filter out for the new filter from Docs. And I'll set these side by side. So that one's an OEM Mopar filter. This is a Docs filter. As you can see, everything looks almost exactly the same. It's designed to OE specs. It has the pre-filter foam on there to stop the small dust particles. And all we're going to do is we're just going to drop that right in. Make sure it's fully seated. Again, you do not want to use a K&N air filter. Let me grab that and I'll show you why. I did try to run the K&N air filter at one time. As you can see, the silicone here, it's just nowhere near as thick as the factory, and what that causes an issue with is losing pressure. So if you look at these, yeah, they look somewhat close, but this just doesn't seal quite as much as that foam, and so I actually ended up cracking my box doing that. So you want just a standard filter with some good edges. Make sure it's pushed down in there. Move these out of the way. Again, we're using the Docs filter on here. Kind of line this back up in the hole, line it back up with the box. If you have to fight that later, you can. It is a little tricky to get that filter in here. So you're going to get that lined up, get your filter and box lined up, make sure everything's nice and good, and then you're just going to run your bolts down carefully not to crack your box. So again, don't buy the K&N. unless you want to check engine light and to do what that one's done, end up in the box. Again, our original filter had 25,000 miles on it. We're not going to go tight the first time. As you can see, I've cracked this one back here, so that's kind of where we're going, a little easy. It's easy to do if you try to use power tools. So eventually I might have to get a new one of those. This front one's the trickiest to get to, so I kind of have a wobble socket on there. Then we come around to this side. Again, we're just making sure that the box is well seated. We'll give it another little wiggle once we get this one started. So once you start seeing the plastic bend, you've gone far enough. So something that is absolutely critical when you put this back together is to make sure that you get this line back up. So this hook here, there's a tab on the back. It goes into these grooves, and there's a notch right here. You want to make sure that notch is lined up. And most importantly, push through that little rubber clip on your intake tube. You can use a screwdriver, you can wiggle it, whatever it takes to get that lined up, seated. See how I kind of push everything on and it clipped? So we want to make sure that tube is on there seated. We don't want any dust or debris getting in. And so that's going to keep that intake. The turbo, it's going to expand and contract as it draws in air, but that's how you want everything done. What you don't want to end up with is a check engine light. And again, come back, place it again. You saw it pop down over that tab. Everything is good and tight on there. Wiggle it. Make sure you don't see any of the filter sticking up out, and you've got a good tight seal. So that, guys, is how you do the air filter. It's that easy. So when it comes to doing your cabin filter, this is actually really easy. There's a tab back in there. You just bump that, or if you're like me and your box is heavy, pull that out of the way. I keep my remote for my winch in the glove box, so I always have it. Back in here is where your filter is. Just has a little squeeze tab. You squeeze this tab, pulls right out. Now this thing's gonna have all kinds of junk in there. So this is, again, we haven't changed anything. 25,000 miles, that's the factory filter. That's how dirty it is. Even had some pine needles that came with it. That's going in the trash. Now our new filter from Doc's is actually a two-piece, I think. So you have two of these. I don't understand why there's two. I'm assuming to make it easier to install. So what we'll do, shows you the direction it flows. So we will stick one in, slide it over, and we should be able to stick the other one in and slide it over. Again, not sure why it's two pieces, but hey, it's two pieces. So again, we inserted both the filters there. One there and one there. Once you put your filters in, make sure the direction of the airflow is down because it's drawing from up top. You may not be able to do this with one hand. Get this into the right spot. Slide the tab in, and then the other end just clips in. So pretty easy. Once you're done with that, and it's got the charcoal, so that's going to get rid of the dog smell and everything else. Your box here just kind of goes up there and closes and hangs. So it's not the best design, but it's easy maintenance. So before any oil change, I usually pull the dipstick, just let it get some air before I drain the oil pan down below. Alright guys, so a couple tools you need here. This is a 13 mil or 1/2 inch. I always use 1/2 inch drive tools when I do drain plugs. Sometimes they can get a little sticky. I don't ever use power tools. So being up on 40s is pretty nice. Your drain pan, you're gonna make sure you pull out your drain, because this thing's got 9 quarts, so that's over 2 gallons. You're gonna want to make sure your vent's open. I've done that one before, and then you end up flooding your driveway. You also want to make sure you've got a rag handy. So as you can see, I got this one on a little tight last time I did it. I usually pull the head, line up my drain pan, And hopefully we don't get too sprayed with oil. And double, triple check your alignment. And once it starts going, you just let it go. All right, we did pretty good. And you can set your drain plug to the side. Another thing to look at is the end of your drain plug here to see if there's any material on it. And I'm not seeing any. Again, look how black this oil is. It's been less than 5,000 miles. So a diesel is not like a gas engine. There's so much more soot and ash that's deposited into a diesel compared to a gas engine. All right guys, so next we're gonna go up top while this is draining. Continue to let it just drain. We're gonna do the engine oil filter. Okay, guys, so this oil filter is not the easiest to change, and I've learned a few things since I've been doing oil changes on this. The biggest one is because this is a cartridge style filter, you want to take some extra rags, and hopefully I can get down underneath. You're going to want to shove those underneath, and this thing is hard to get to. You want to just kind of spread these rags out to try and catch as much oil. Don't forget your rag. You don't want to burn up your engine or your engine bay, but you kind of want to get 3 or 4 good rags down in there just to soak up any oil that you might spill, because it runs over on everything. And this, again, not an easy oil filter cartridge to get to. So you want to try to minimize how much dripping and stuff you have. So just shove a whole bunch of rags down in there the best you can around that engine oil filter. I'll zoom you guys in so you can see. But it's in a really bad location. You got this cable here, you got this here, you gotta run your wrench through here, you gotta pull your filter up through here. This is just not fun and easy to do. And for me, I get one of these pans, I set it up here close so I can get the filter as quickly as I can into the pan so I don't get too many drips. So here, you're going a long socket, and this is a 1 1/8 inch drive. And so, get that on, get your container out of the way, and you're gonna use a torque wrench when you put this back in. This is just plastic. It's still draining out at the bottom. You're going to take this loose to where you can grab it by hand. Again, these filters aren't cheap. They're like 50 bucks. So, take that off. Grab a rag. Really kind of pain to do, because you got to kind of go out there and then up here, and then as you can see, it's still dripped oil everywhere. It's just a mess. When you look down in there, there's still quite a bit of oil inside. So all that oil is good because you don't want a bad start. I mean, you could soak it out if you wanted. I'm not too concerned about that little bit of oil, because it will be filtered before it goes back in the engine. Every time I do a project, everybody else wants to do a project too. So here we've got our new Docs oil filter. Difference is this one has green O-rings. Let's look at the paper filter. This is like the STP version filter. It does look like the STP has a few more fins, a little bit thicker material on the Docs, but we're going to take and pre-oil this and then stick it in. Alright guys, so we pre-oiled this, just took a dab of oil, ran it around the rings here, just get a good seal, and we're going to stick this in. Because we're doing an oil change every 5,000 miles, I'm not super concerned, but you're basically just going to put that in. What I do is I turn it counterclockwise to line up the tabs before I go in. So you're going to want to do this by feel. And I felt it drop into the grooves. I'm going to do this hand tight. Alright, once you get that hand tight, I'm gonna get the torque wrench. If you've ever seen me use this, this is my Quinn. This is from Harbor Freight. It's a digital torque wrench. Exact same as the Craftsman. I've got it saved in here in the memory, but what we're looking for is 25 Newton meters. Neuter meter, it's not neuters, it's not neuter, it's newtons per meter. It's not even per, it's newtons times meters, so Newton meters. That way, you know, foot pounds, you could probably convert it if you absolutely had to. Just get you a torque wrench like this and you'll be golden. So from here, come in with our socket. We're gonna go snug with the socket. Once we start feeling some resistance, we'll switch to the torque wrench. And if you're in doubt, it actually says 25 Newton meters on the cartridge itself. All right, it's snug there, so it just kind of stopped. I'm gonna switch this out for a torque wrench. Got our torque wrench on here. Come this side of that hose with the torque wrench. It doesn't take much, so you don't want it over tight because it will leak and blow out a seal. If you get it too loose, it'll leak oil. So you want 25 Newton meters as close as you can get it. And whatever you do, don't forget to pull out your rags. So we got to pull our rags out. All those rags kept us from leaking everywhere. So take your rags out. Feel around. Make sure there's no gap in the cartridge. I think we're good. Let's go down and put our drain plug back in. So as you can see, it's pretty much stopped dripping. Take a rag, wipe this off, slide this back a little bit out of the way, wipe down the oil pan. So we got most of the oil out of the drain pan. It was just slowly dripping. I mean, you could wait all day for this to drain if you really wanted to. But here, we're just gonna go snug with our drain plug. And these metal cloak pans are awesome. They're reinforced at the drain plug. But just go snug with it. It doesn't have to be super tight. It just has to be tight enough to stop any oil from leaking. And then we're just gonna wipe down our lip here, where our skid plate is. And I love these metal cloak skids. I mean, that's a $18,000 engine. You got tens of thousands of dollars in SCR, DCR, and all those acronyms for the DPS system. This is something that I do have an issue with. So each of these is a gallon of oil. There's no markings on here due to contraction and expansion and what have you. So 1 gallon is basically 4 quarts. So this is 7 3/4. So about every inch, just shy of 2 inches, is going to be a quart. So I did the calculation over here. So I mean, it's not going to be exact, but basically 7 3/4. This will get us around about 7.75 divided by 4 means 1.93. If you take 15/16, you get 9.375. So approximately every 1 and 15/16. So there's a 15/16 right there. And up from there, we want to come up another 15/16. So that's going to put us as short. So it's 3 7/8, which is right about there. And then we come up another just shy of 2 inches. That's going to drop us down to a 1/16 under 7/8 right there. And that should leave about, just shy of 2 inches up there at the top. So that's how we're going to know where our line is. And so we're just going to make these thicker. These aren't an exact science. But you can see you got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts in there. So I don't understand why they can't just stamp that stuff on there to get you close, because you need 9 quarts. So we'll know just about in this area, we should be right about 9 quarts. Again, we're going to check the dipstick as we go, but we're going to go dump 2 gallons in, and then we'll make sure we're 9 quarts, making sure we're using the dipstick. Every other brand out there, Rotella, you name it, all their gallons, they all have marks. So that's one thing I'll say for Doc's Diesel. You guys need to put marks on your stuff. This is a flow tool. I think I got this at like a Advanced or O'Reilly's or something. Now on the 3.6, it's got a nice little cap holder, but on the 3.0, you just set the cap wherever out of the way where it's going to be not be dirty, and then we're going to get our oil and start loading up our oil. This also has a screen. And it's good we got a screen, because like that catches any large particles that could go down in your engine and cause damage. This stuff is kind of runny. Oh, try not to spill. Sometimes if you hold to the side, it does a little bit better. Biggest thing, make sure your drain plug's in there. Make sure you don't use the one that you marked. Here on the bottle is exactly what you want to see. Is this MS12991. That's what you need for a Jeep. We got 1 gallon in, coming right with round number 2. Again, make sure you don't get any of that aluminum foil in there. So cap to the side. We splashed a little here, so we'll make sure we clean that up. All that oil will burn off. It doesn't smell good when it does that. Flow smooth, smooth as fast. Now the Rotella jugs, those gallon jugs will actually fit straight up and down. Again, this oil is a little runny. Wonder how it does in the desert. You guys out west, let me know in the comments. I just got tired of going to so many stores, and I'd rather use a diesel designed oil instead of a European car oil. And it may just be branding, but you know, we'll see how it does. So other things while you're waiting for that to drain, if you look down here, scroll down, if you look down here, this is the power steering fluid. Right now we're kind of at that min level. Alright, this stuff expands and contracts over time. Guys broke this when they were replacing the intercooler, so thanks to the dealership for doing that. That's why I do all my work myself. So you can check your power steering fluid. I'll show you guys what you got to use. You can only use this stuff in it because it's an electric power steering system, so you have to go to the dealership to buy this Mopar power steering fluid. You know, it's good to do this every so often. So we can just top that off while we're in here. And see, look at that, marks on the bottle. And if you split 2 holes like that, it'll pour smooth without all those bubbles. And it's not going to take much, it just needs a little. You don't want it to blow anything out, so we just top that off a little bit. Put this in your garage, and that way you'll have it anytime you need to top off your power steering fluid. You can't just go to AutoZone and get this stuff. So you have to use this special electric power steering fluid. Other things to check over here. This is your washer fluid. Top that off, it'll tell you the light. This is your brake fluid. There's a max here, a min down here. When your pads are pretty much worn out, you're going to be down here in the min. So if you come in, your bottle's like halfway, it's definitely time to check your brakes. Again, I put 66,000 miles on my gas one. I use a lot of engine braking, but the pads on these factory ones, they last a long time. The coolant here, the min mark is kind of right here. And so that is, again, another special Mopar coolant. You can go to the dealership, get it. But you gotta mix it 50-50. So I'm not saying this is exactly how you do it. So you want your engine to be cool, but we're gonna dump a little bit of this in, just bottled water, and then we'll top it off with the mix. And driving down the road, it's gonna shake and stuff. For your coolant, again, you're gonna want to use the Mopar stuff because of the ratings and the concentration. This is like a 10-year coolant. It's like purple pink color. So again, your AutoZone is the worst case. As you can see, I got two holes in there, and that just helps you pour nice, easy, and slow so you don't spill everywhere, because you don't want the smell of coolant. Toyota guys will make fun of you. Filled it up with a little bit of water and topped it off with a little bit of the pink juice. So that's pretty close to 50-50. Now ideally, if you had a gallon, you'd mix, for every gallon of this, you'd mix with a gallon of water. That would give you 2 gallons if you were doing like a full flush. And you might need several of these. Brake fluid reservoir looks good. Not gonna mess with that. We are gonna check underneath, make sure there's no leaks. I'm not seeing anything leak out. The oil's had a chance to soak in the engine. And so we'll come over here to the dipstick, pull the dipstick out, wipe it down, put the dipstick in, let it sit, hopefully soak some oil up on it. Let's see where we're at. So have a very small amount on the dipstick. If it'll focus here. Looks like we're about halfway on the dipstick. So probably a quart, half a quart low. This is a jug that we marked. So probably we'll mark it where the top is too, just so we know. So here I marked it. I added another mark. So there's the top where it is sitting flat on a table. That's our half mark, eyeballing it, and that's our line where we measured. So again, these are estimates. This isn't perfect. You want to go off your dipstick. It's really easiest if you pour these bottles from the side. Even though it calls for 9, you check it as you go. Yeah, so we got 8.5 quarts in there, and what we're going to want to do is go up to our page here. There's all this stuff. As you can see, I changed my oil pretty often. See, oil life, it still says 61%. I changed it to 21,000, but I wanted to just kind of get on to every 5,000 mile rotation. Oil temp, oil pressure, that's what we want to see. And so that oil pressure looks a lot better than it did. Oh man, the engine actually sounds a lot quieter. So we're just gonna let it run up, charge the system. We've started, cycled the oil through. We're gonna wait 5 minutes for it all to drain back down, and then we'll top it off one more time. All right, so it's been a couple of minutes. Check our oil, wipe the dipstick down one time. Put it back in. Let it soak for a second or two, because you don't want the oil to be all over the bottom of your dipstick. If you do it too many times, that's exactly what's going to happen. I can tell we're a little low, so we're going to go ahead and add the rest. If you see where the black line is, you see kind of where that black shadow is down at the lower quarter of the honeycomb. I'm going to take and add the rest of that half quart in. Get us down to the full 9 quarts. Because I think we're probably a half quart low. Again, you want to make sure you keep everything clean. You don't want any dirt going in your engine. So we still have about a half a quart. And so when you order this, they have a 2-gallon jug option. You're going to need a 3rd jug to get started. So that's something else to pay attention to. That's pretty dang close. So we might be a little bit overfilled. Again, if they would just put the marks on the bottles, that would genuinely help out. Clean rag. Wait a minute or two. Check our oil. Yeah, this one's looking good. So if you look here, by the time it all settles in, we got a good full amount of oil on there. We always carry a little bit with us in case we ever have to top it up between fill-ups. So that's good. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright guys, so except for the markings on the bottle, I'm liking the docks. Okay, and the markings we can do, but docks, if you watch this, make sure you put the markings on your bottles. It'll help out. Alright guys, so the next part is probably my least favorite part of doing maintenance on this Jeep, and that is the fuel filter. The fuel filter on this thing, you got to cycle the engine like 10 times. The old 7.3 and even my 5.9, it's got such a large pump that flushes the fluid through. Like, it'll self-prime and everything else. This one, it's not very powerful. So literally, you got to cycle it 10 times. I think last time I thought I only needed to do it 4. I ended up with rough idles and, you know, it ran like garbage for it. It's finally got all the air out of the system. So your air fuel water separator on this is a pain, and literally you got to cycle the pump a lot of times. And all you do, no foot on the brake, you just turn it to run after you swap out the filter and push it through. The other thing is, with it being on the bottom, my Ram, you stick in through the top. It's an old school, you drop the cartridge in through the top and do it that way. And the metal ones, you take loose and you pull it through. And pretty much the only fluid that's in the pump comes down. This thing, if you're not careful, because the tank is so high and the pump's down low, like, it'll keep flowing fluid through. So you got to do it rather quickly to swap out the filter. You guys can watch. It's not fun. It's messy, but we'll do it. So this is not my favorite part. Fuel filter. You definitely want to change this no more than 15,000 miles. I've actually pushed the limit on this one. I think I used a Wix last time. I like Wix. Problem is, Wix is $100 or 120 bucks now. I mean, it's ridiculous what the filter costs. And so finding the fuel filter, the air filters, oil filters, and all that stuff for the Jeep Ecodiesel is a real pain. So I will say that's the good thing about docks, is all that stuff's right there, shipped to your house. Pay the insurance in case any of the oil leaks out, and make sure you order ahead. So it came about a week after I ordered it. I ordered it Saturday, showed up later that week. And so now we're getting ready to do the oil change here. And so the biggest thing I want to say is, you know, take your time, plan ahead on your maintenance, and that way, you know, you get the filters drive to your house. So again, you can order with the military discount, first responder discount, save some money that way. If you try to use that in conjunction with subscribing, it's almost the exact same price. They had like 5% off if you subscribe. I think you save, it's actually a better deal to just use your first responder military discount if that applies to you. If not, look for them to have a sale. The price on Amazon is the same price as directly through docks. So it's kind of your choice how you want to do it. Again, the thing I like is I'm not running all over the place. Literally, AutoZone for the STP oil filter. The Advanced Auto had the Pennzoil I needed with their proper ratings, and then O'Reilly's, you know, sometimes they have the fuel filter in, sometimes they don't, sometimes you gotta wait a couple of days. So you might as well just go online, order it through docks, and get it that way. That, and it's a true diesel oil, is my biggest thing. It's designed for diesel. It's not, you know, car oil or van oil. It's an actual like diesel oil. So we're gonna go change this fuel filter, because fuel filter alone from the dealership, that's a $200 charge. And again, the Wix is 120 bucks. I think you can see some on Amazon, they're 139. Docs has their stuff third party tested supposedly, but it looks the same as other filters. So we're gonna pull the skid plate off and get this going. I went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's how much I procrastinate, because I don't like doing the fuel filter. Alright guys, so the great thing about the metal cloak skids is you got this access port here. You want to make sure this is seated all the way, and then pull your bolts loose. Those can get mud in them. You probably don't want to use RTV on these, or sorry, you probably don't want to use thread locker on these. Another thing I'd advise is when you do anything under the Jeep, check your skid plates. If you bash these things on rocks and stuff, they will start coming loose. So, and there's no telling what kind of dirt, debris, and gunk is going to be trapped in here. But, I mean, this 3/16 plate that they got in here is going to provide you a lot more protection than the factory skids. And it literally protects everything from the front of the oil pan all the way back to the def tank on this, as well as your entire exhaust system. So I would keep an eye out for metal cloak, and if and when these things ever go on sale again, I would definitely look into getting some. So pulled our plate off. As you can see, we kind of use this. That's all dirt and debris that's trapped on top. Set that to the side. Looks like we got a little bit of a fuel leak up here. I thought I was smelling fuel. So hopefully that doesn't go absolutely everywhere. There's a drain plug on here for water. This is your fuel water separator. And so if you get any water in your fuel, it'll leak out there. It smells mostly like we got diesel. Alright, so there's that. Again, I'm getting soaked in diesel fuel. Okay, just try and get some air up in there. And then when we pull this out, I'm hoping it's the same size as we use on the engine. I'm not 100% sure what the size is. I forget on this one. If we're lucky, it's the same as the oil filter, which it is. Alright, so stand by, because hopefully I don't get diesel fuel all over the camera. There it goes. I hear it moving. Alright, while that's there, it's going to be dripping some fluid for a little bit. As you can see in here, it's got your ring at the top. It's got an extra ring gasket here. Only goes in one way. This thing is such a mess. I mean, that's so much fuel. So much. And you gotta dispose of it. You're not gonna dump that in your gas can, in your gas tank, that's for sure. Alright, so here on the filter housing, there's a gasket that runs along the side. You're gonna want to replace this gasket. So that's a throwaway gasket. Here's your new gasket. We got enough fuel. Here's some fuel up here. 3 parts per million is what the filter is rated at. So this one's pretty good. Just want to kind of wrap this gasket in, make sure it's seated all the way around into that groove. So it should look like that when you're done. It's nice the gasket has some color to it. For your filter, there's a gasket here in the middle. Just take some of the residue that's on our hands, put around that gasket. Make sure you turn it upside down in case there's any water in there. Water's heavier than diesel, so definitely want to get any water that could possibly be in there out. Here, you're just going to make it click, and then we're going to feed it up in there carefully by hand. Make sure we're not cross-threaded. Once we get it in so far, we're just going to try to make it look like it did before. Not over tighten it. Do not crack this. You're just going to kind of go up to where it's snug. There it kind of stopped. So we're going to leave it there. That's where it stopped. Make sure our drain valve is closed. You don't want to overdo the drain valve either. Then you're going to wipe everything down because everything is coated in diesel fuel right this second. So just give everything a good little wipe down. Poke your head in there, make sure you don't get any diesel fuel in your eye. That's pretty much all there is to it. Hands are coated in diesel fuel, but we'll see if we can stick you guys up there to see. So if you look up there through the hole, there's your filter. That's kind of how it's oriented for me, with the front of the Jeep being that way. As you can see before, it just had a little plate that kind of bolted over it. And if you're banging around on rocks, you definitely don't want to do that. So that's pretty much it for maintenance on the you'll want to go around, you know, you can grease your points, or you can go back and grease your CVs, you can grease your U-joints. If you've got, you know, aftermarket control arms that need greasing, I'd go through grease those. We've got one thing we've got to actually fix on the steering, the Synergy, the pitman arm. I felt a little bit of binding, and I guess I didn't use enough Loctite. And I know I torqued it to 180 foot-pounds. A little bit disappointed in myself that that thing came loose. I was feeling a little bit of a bind when I first did it. So I think the nut has been like catching on the bearing and backing off slowly at a time. The pitman arm, I think I've got a good 1/16, 1/8 inch of travel in there. And, you know, 40s are just hard on stuff. So that may be a result of running the 40s. But I'm glad I caught it now. So you always want to give everything a good once over when you do a project like this. Before we put the plate on, I'm going to go cycle the engine. To cycle the fuel pump, you're going to turn it to run, and you're not going to do anything. You are going to look down below to make sure that there's no leaks. I don't know if y'all hear that back here, but you can kind of hear the air coming through the line. So that's like 3. You can kind of hear it going. Just going to keep cycling. can't even tell you how many times I've cycled that. I'm gonna cycle it some more because last time, like I said, I started having issues. Alright guys, I'm gonna check one more time down here, make sure there's no leaks. I'm not seeing any drips, any wetness. I think we might be good. We'll see. Here goes nothing. Nope. Alright guys, so it hesitated some. There's still air in the system. Oil pressure's way up from where it was before. So that's good. Gonna try it again. Alright, so we have fuel pressure, we have oil pressure, we have all the maintenance done. Now I gotta go in and do another project to fix the steering. So I'll show you guys kind of what we got going on over here. Arm. I don't know if you can see that, but our pitman arm, the nut has worked itself loose. I don't think we've broken any splines yet, but definitely after you install this, you're supposed to go back, retorque everything after 500 miles. So we're going to use a whole bunch of thread locker, torque that thing back down. Hopefully we don't have to pull the track bar, but I'm going to try to do it with minimal amount of required tools and get this carrier bearing pulled loose, torque the pitman arm back down, and go from there. Well, hopefully I can get back in here. Say 9/16. I'll replace those. There's lots of thread locker on everything. Luckily, again, everything is fairly new here. All right. So here's our bearing. That should be rotating freely, but it's not. Our pinion nut here, I can feel it like popping. Came loose. So that's 3/4 drive. I may have to pull this track bar out, which I really don't want to have to do if I don't have to. Alright, that's out. Alright guys, so took all that loose. I don't have any red thread locker. We're gonna thread locker the heck out of this thing. I don't want this thing to come loose ever again. That could be really bad if we drive down the road. This joker comes loose. Well, I got a boatload of thread locker on there. I don't want to get that in my bearing. But sure as heck want to make sure it's soaked on everything else. Usually I only use a couple of drops. But today, we're going a bit extreme. glad we caught it now. Didn't catch it driving down the road. All right. Sorry for all the profanity. That thing is. We'll go up 5 more pounds just to make sure. His torque wrenches can be off by 2 or 3%. So we got everything back in. Now we're just taking and retorquing everything. 50 pounds on these nuts here. We got 180. I added 5 extra pounds to the pitman arm. I used a boatload of blue Loctite. So that one's at 50. This one here should be at 50. That one's at 50. So we're good there. Everything's torqued back down. Now we got to fight the track bar to get that back in. Alright guys, so got that up there. Oops. I think I just need one more click. Lock that in. We're pretty dang close right there. There's that. Give her a little whack whack. Alright, we got a little whack whack on there. This is the one that's going to take a little extra ug-a-dug on it. Because we need a 22 on the front and 22 on the back. I think we will take our strap loose while we torque that. Because we got a bolt through. I'll give it one more go. Alright, that's at 125. Alright, so we got everything torqued to 125. Pitman arm's good, nuts are good. The last thing I gotta do is put the plate back on where the fuel filter is and go from there. Alright guys, so we got our old fuel filter here. Move that out of the way. Got a plate. Try to clean this off some. A lot of dirt. As you can see, that metal cloak gold zinc just wipes right off. Best way to clean it, soap and water. But for what we're doing, I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more dirt and debris in here because we went through some big, thick, nasty mud before. So that'll all get recycled, not in the Jeep. Now, I don't use Loctite on these for a simple fact. As you go tighter, the more contact area you have with the plate. I'm going to start them all kind of loose, and then we'll send them home when we're done. Always start everything hand tight and then go tighter.
All right, it's good to go.
All right, guys, hope you learned why it's important to do maintenance on your Jeep. And as we saw today, we had to fix the pitman arm nut, take all that apart, put it back together. Again, I used Doc's Diesel. Everything was there online, easy to order. I know I'm not sponsored, but if you do want one of these cool tool bags, you can head over to Inca Overland Outfitters. Save some money when you buy either the tool bag or a trash bag using code SBYD bags. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you would, smash that like button, consider subscribing. Once again, I get to share my dream with you, but the true purpose of this channel is to help inform, motivate, and inspire you to get out there and start building your dreams.